everyone, and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. My name is Tom Baker, and I am happy to be with you once again, wherever you are tuning in from. We are grateful that you are. We hope you'll enjoy this next hour or so of motorsports conversation. We've packed a lot into this show, which is brought to you by the good folks at Miller Tech Energy. And here's the thing. If you have an RV or a boat or a golf cart, why would you want to keep changing batteries every couple years when you could actually have a battery that has a no-hassle 10-year warranty and is made by an Amish company that prioritizes quality over absolutely everything else? The folks at Miller Tech are top-notch. They're very, very careful about what they do, and they are focused 100% on making sure that you get the very best lithium batteries that can be produced anywhere. MillerTechEnergy.com is their website, and if you use the code NASCAR10 when you purchase at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. Thanks to the good folks at Miller Tech for being a great partner to us and helping us to bring this show to you. And with that, I introduce my trusty editor, Jacob Seelman, and we're going to get this thing started with the Miller Tech Power Performance Award. This one's going to be fun.
It will be. I'm just soaking in the fact that I upgraded to trusty. That's an improvement these days. I like that.
Yeah, it's an upgrade. You know, we got to change it up once in a while.
Once in a blue moon, or so the saying goes. But I digress. Yes, Miller Tech Power Performance Award to kick this show off, as we have done for multiple of them now. And easy to start with the guy who I would argue was certainly the most consistently impressive driver of our four nominees, that being out of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Lane Riggs swept all three stages of the Allegiance 200 at Nashville Superspeedway, and did so on a last lap pass of Raja Carutho, by the way, for his second win in a row. That's 3 this year for Lane and the 34 bunch, of which, by the way, Miller Tech is a proud partner of Front Row Motorsports. Figure we ought to throw that in there, give them an extra bone. You've got the Indy Next winner and new point leader also, by the way, Enzo Fittipaldi. Yes, of those Fittipaldis. Detroit Street Circuit, he won that race over the weekend despite having a damaged front wing and nose cone for about 95% of that race. Got damaged on lap 1, and he drove it to victory anyways. The kid is really, really good. Second win in the last 3 races. On the short track side, you have our third nominee and fourth nominee. Out of the sprint car set, we've got a driver that we talked about earlier in the season on this show who popped back up over the weekend. Levi Hillier, 16 years old, who won not just one sprint car race at Washington Skagit Speedway over the weekend. He won 2 in one night, 360 and 410 for the young teenager who gets his first 410 sprint car win at Skagit. And you have our final nominee, a local out of Riverhead Raceway in New York, where the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was, Mark Stewart, who upset the Tour regulars to win his first Tour race and his second overall. Top 5 on the Tour is a win. Pretty impressive on that front. I didn't know a whole lot about Mark Stewart before Saturday. A whole lot of guys in Mod Squad country know who Mark Stewart is after Saturday night. He beat 4-time champ Justin Bonsignor for the honors. So, Tom, I will ask you your thoughts on our 4 nominees, Riggs, Fittipaldi, Hillier, and Stewart. What do you like? What do you not like? I think there's a lot to like out of all 4 of these guys.
There's nothing not to like. I mean, this is a really tough choice because I watched Lane Riggs. The comeback that he had in the truck race at the end. I mean, he swept all 3 stages. It makes it sound like he had a cakewalk. That really wasn't the case. I mean, it came down to the wire between him and Raja Karuth for him to actually end up getting the win. Raja drove a great race. I mean, that was a fantastic accomplishment, but I also love Fittipaldi winning 2 of his last 3 in the next series, and Enzo is definitely a driver on the rise, and he has really taken that HMD Motorsports group and elevated him this year. But gosh, Hillier and Stewart both with big accomplishments. I'm feeling Lane Riggs here, honestly, because it was just a kick butt performance, but then he had to work for it at the end, and he took it.
I'm actually outnumbered this week because my vote was for Enzo Fittipaldi. I actually had to go back and watch the Indy Next race to fully understand the gravity of him driving a damaged race car to victory in a series where, yes, it's a road and street course. Okay, aero maybe isn't everything like it would be on an oval track, but the Indy cars and Indy Next cars are so aero sensitive that any bit of damage is gonna have you wrestling with it. And for Enzo still to win, I thought was just completely remarkable. Not to mention he's just the kind of personality that discipline in American open wheel racing really needs, I feel like, right now. Just like I said, there was a lot to like there. Enzo was going to be my vote, but I cannot argue either with you or the fact that 94% of the fan vote going into the taping of this show was for Lane Riggs. So yeah, pretty kick butt number there. So I'm outnumbered. I rest that case. Lane Riggs, the MillerTech Power Performance Award honoree for the final week of May, the 25th through the 31st. And I think before we go into our second starting line topic, I want to add on the Lane Riggs subject that yes, Caden Honeycutt has been leading the championship up to now, but this win for Lane, I think, could be a big turning point because Caden had an alternator issue in that race at Nashville and actually now drops from 11 points up to 34 points down on Lane Riggs. This was a huge, huge swing, and you and I, of course, know that we were looking at Lane, as you get deeper into the season for a championship, but I think he had honestly flown under a lot of people's radar early in the season, despite the fact that he's got 3 wins, because none of it has been really flashy up until Nashville. Nashville, he came out and just kind of punched everybody in the mouth, but up to now, it's been real quietly consistent that he's been. I like the way he and Dylan Capello have gone about their business this season.
Not so fast, my friend. I agree with the basic premise, but 34 points this early in the season when you're Caden Honeycutt and you have at least the tied for the best truck in the series with Front Row. I think Tricon's still the best truck, but I mean, yes, it's a big swing. Yes, he's 34 points down. Long season, and Lane Riggs, if he wants to protect that 34-point lead, is going to not be able to have a disastrous race like Caden just had, because again, it can change back the other way as quick as it went at first. So yeah, I think this is going to be a battle to the wire between at least those two.
Well, and just understand here that what I'm referring to is more so the battle for that number 1 seed at the end of the regular season going into the chase, because I think that 25-point bonus is going to be very, very critical to whoever ultimately has a shot to go out and win this championship when you get really late in the year. And the fact that when you look at the Truck Series schedule, just because they have less races than the O'Reilly Series or the Cup Series do, you're already 11 of 18 races in. You're more than halfway through the regular season. Now, we've only got 7 races to go before the Chase reset at Bristol in September, which sounds like a lot of time. It's really not, all things considered. So that's kind of why I made the point that, okay, yeah, 34 points doesn't sound like a lot, but with only 7 races to go in the regular season, it's a little bit more meaningful than people give it credit for, is all I'm saying.
No doubt. I'm just saying that, now if Riggs has a bad race, Cade wins and dominates, we're right back where we were. I mean, I think, like I said, 7 races doesn't sound like a lot of races, but all it takes is one bad outing and everything completely changes. But yes, that definitely did help Lane. And those two are two of the best drivers not in NASCAR's Cup Series right now. And I think both of them have a future there.
I agree. Second starting line topic tonight. I'm calling it Will He, Won't He? Because Justin Allgaier has been the topic of conversation going up a level in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Won for the 4th time this season at Nashville. But more importantly, we in the media have all gravitated to this quote that he gave to SiriusXM during JRM Fan Day a couple of weeks ago now, where he admitted to Danielle Trotta at the time that he was 105% retiring after 2026. This was how he felt back in January. Now he's won 4 times in 16 races, and let's just say he's not sure if 105% retiring is 105% anymore. Before we hear from Justin, Tom, do you think he comes back to play in 2027 at the rate things are going?
I would have said that even after he said that he was retiring, because this is all it takes is to get on a hot streak. Justin is still young enough to do it for another 5 or 6 years, at least, if he wants to. And, he's got more to do in this series if he chooses to do it. So, no, I absolutely do not believe he's retiring. I think you will see him back in 2027.
All right, so we've got our thoughts. I also agree, by the way, that I think Justin comes back for at least 1 more year. But enough of our talking heads move. Let's hear Justin Allgaier's thoughts after his win in recounting where he's at in the thought process of 2027 and exactly how far down that retirement road he was before all this started.
I answered a question on Sirius last week at JRM Fan Day, and it's caused more of a stir than I thought it would. So I can't answer that question. We're kind of working through what that looks like. Look, there's a lot of factors that for me, I think kind of weighed in on my decision of what 2027 and what the future looks like. If you ask Campbell in January, he would tell you that it was 100% I was retiring. Actually, 105%. I mean, I bought a house, if that gives you any consolation. Like, I bought a house in Illinois, so the neighbors are still super confused as to what's going on. So I don't know what the future looks like. What I know is that I'm having probably the most fun I've ever had in my entire career right now. And not just because we're winning, but just I'm having fun. And some of the things that I think, I mean, look, the last 2 weeks have been really difficult on everybody. And not that that's weighed in on my decision, but it's probably made me value why I love this sport so much and why I get up in the mornings and do what I do and how fragile life really is. And so, I've enjoyed being around the people in this garage. There's nothing like the people in this garage, whether it be the media like you guys, the fans, the teams, the spotters. There's nobody like this in the world that I've lived in outside of the 4 walls of these racetracks. And so I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. We're working through that, but I would say today you'll probably see me. There's a higher likelihood of you seeing me next year than there isn't. If that helps your answer any. So we'll see how this goes.
All right. So in case you missed the original interview, Justin Allgaier was so far down the retirement road going into 2026, Tom, that he's already bought a house back in his native Illinois for whenever he finally decides to retire. It's one of those moments where you sit back, I laugh, I go, okay, well, Justin, your neighbors are going to wonder what the heck's going on there because the house is just going to sit there until he's ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know exactly when he'll retire. I really honestly could see him racing at least another couple of years. I think as long as he can race for championships and be successful and win races like he's winning them now, I think Justin will keep going. I would think he would have to, because even though, I'm sure the Polo family is strong and all of that, but I just have to believe that, Justin's still got at least another year or two left in him.
Well, if you believe what he said in his press conference, his wife Ashley is on him to keep going. His pastor is on him to keep going. And as Justin asked his wife, Ashley, if you got my pastor involved, does that mean you got the big man upstairs involved in this too?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, he's too young, man. We got to keep him around for another couple of years. He's still running for championships.
He's only turning 40, and heck, he's turning 40, and he just did a triathlon in downtown Nashville the morning after he won the race. Yeah. Enough said right there.
Yes, absolutely.
So, third topic, and this one, a little heavier, I guess we would say, but we're now about 2 weeks removed from the sudden passing of two-time NASCAR Cup Series champ Kyle Busch. Obviously, a lot still weighing on the NASCAR community right now, but Tom, it really starts bringing up a lot of questions when you think about this. We had Austin Hill back in the 33 car, renumbered from the 8 at Nashville. And you have to start asking yourself, okay, they're kind of deciding this week by week, at least from what they've said, so far. So who pilots the car the rest of the season? Is it one driver? Is it a rotation of drivers? We have no idea now what the RCR Cup lineup will look like long term. I mean, what are your thoughts? What does the future look like at RCR if we can even begin to think of a projection?
Well, I think Richard Childress is the only gentleman who knows that at this point. And I actually heard just before we got on here for this show that there may be a press conference scheduled for this upcoming race in Michigan. And,
yes, that is true. That's correct.
That'll be the first time that Richard communicates with the media, or has communicated with the media to any great degree since we lost Kyle Busch the week of Charlotte. But I'm not saying he's going to give us a clue of where, the 33 is going. I think it's a complicated situation. You have Austin Hill in the car now. And again, I don't think Austin has done poorly in the car. I think it's a big ask for him to come to Cup and jump in a car that, yes, he's raced Cup some, as has his O'Reilly Series teammate Jesse Love. But I don't know that Austin necessarily is the long-term answer for the car. The question is, who is? I would think of the two of them, perhaps it would be Jesse Love. If Richard thought that Jesse was ready to come up to Cup, I think, you can basically take this year and either keep Austin in it or mix the two of them for a variety of races. Or, the question becomes, who else is out there at this point that you go get, at least for this year? Now, what happens at the end of the season for 2027? Who knows? There's some interesting free agents out there. And who knows who's out there that we don't really know about right now.
Right.
I think this definitely is a situation for Richard that's going to be, yes, it's similar in that he called up his basically, probably most veteran, I guess you could say, O'Reilly Series driver and put him in the car and changed the number. Okay, we got that similarity to 2001. But I think Jesse has a very bright Cup future, and I think he'd be ready for 27, honestly, if you want to bring him up. And I also could see the idea of bringing him up a little early and just saying, okay, look, if Jesse's our future, then let's go ahead and just bring him up and let him learn and let him and Andy Street work together and kind of build the program a little bit. And we sacrifice results in the name of education, so to speak. But if you do that during this year, you either sacrifice the chance at a second straight championship out of Jesse in the O'Reilly Series, or you're asking him to do double duty. And I think that's a lot of mental workload for a young driver like Jesse at this point. So I'm not really sure, Jacob. All that is to say that I think Richard's in a much tougher spot than he was in back in, back when Dale passed away, because you had Kevin Harvick there and you knew he was coming up. So you just put him in the car and go. I don't know if it's that cut and dry this time. Do you?
It's definitely not that cut and dry this time. I think you have to add a couple more things to the equation. Number one, there has been a lot of rumbling around the industry right now that Jesse Love being guaranteed at RCR next year might not be as cut and dry a sure thing as what we maybe thought going into this year. There certainly has been those discussions. Now, whether there's validity, not validity to all of that, right now only Jesse and RCR know, full well what those answers are. I think it's been interesting to see Jesse explore kind of the waters. We saw him get back in a Spire truck at Nashville and run pretty well for himself until he got collected in a crash, just to be able to see him broaden his horizons a little bit. But I do agree with your point that trying to do double duty, especially in a position right now where the RCR O'Reilly program is not where they want it to be either. And I think, honestly, Austin Hill is one thing because he's had 5 years in the O'Reilly series, and at this point you kind of know what you're getting with Austin. But certainly for Jesse being the defending champion of that series, if you try to ask him to learn the Cup car, which he's only experienced in a couple of races, plus try to defend the O'Reilly championship in a situation where they know they've got work to do to get that program right now, you're probably sacrificing both ends of the stick there. You're probably imploding the chances at a second O'Reilly championship, and really just, I'm not going to call it torpedoing, but really just not expecting that you're going to get any results out of the Cup program, this year if you go that direction. So you're right. It's a very tough situation right now for Richard, and yes, I think a lot is gonna maybe come to light, or at least start to be understood, when Richard addresses the media at Michigan during the weekend, just to kind of see where his headspace is. For those that haven't seen it, if you follow Steven Toronto, formerly of CBS Sports, now of NASCAR Pole Position, on social media, he had about 10 minutes with Austin Dillon going into Nashville weekend that was just really stellar. And I've been amazed at Austin's leadership through such a tough time with everything he's done, everything he's said over the past week or so. Just really stood out to me. The organization is going to be okay for the long term, but the short term, in my opinion, very, very murky right now.
It is, and I will say, to your point about Jesse and other rumors, I honestly, considering, one of the rumors we heard was potentially the Wood brothers. I don't see that being a step forward versus going up to Cup and racing for RCR, to be honest. Right now, the car's not running that well, and so I really don't see Jesse making that move without some sort of guarantee that there's a long-term future over at Penske for him. So I think if anything else happens with the 33 car besides Austin Hill, it is Jesse Love. And I think Richard, that kind of, if there is anything else going on for Jesse, that could tip Richard's hand in a way and kind of almost force him, if he wants to keep him, to move him up if he feels that he's ready. So it's going to be interesting. This is definitely as you say, very murky waters for RCR right now, and still, praying for all of them as they try to sort of walk their way through the future. And with that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's the America's Racers segment, and we're going to talk about tires and traction control and all kinds of crazy stuff right on the other side. Stay with us.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details. And join tracks nationwide on the app today.
MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show. Wherever you're watching us from, we're glad you came back and didn't go too far other than to maybe make a snack. Tom Baker, tires, traction control, and third place, oh my, is where we're going in this America's Racers segment. We're going to start with tires and the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, because I want to know what in the wide world of sports is going on here. You had the switch from Hoosier rubber to American Racer tires this year for the NASCAR Modifieds, and just in the past about 14 days, you've had two of your very well-known drivers, one of whom's a former champion. You had Kyle Bonsignor, and you've had Ron Silk, who's a former champion on the tour, announced that they are cutting back from full-time to part-time status due to tire quality concerns, is the best way I can sum it up. Basically, it's a tire lottery right now as to whether you get a good set or a not good set, if the drivers are to be believed. And I offer,
Yeah, it's interesting times in our sport, isn't it? When you just make a simple change, which was designed, by the way, to save some costs and not without sacrificing quality. And you've got a couple of drivers who are a little frustrated that maybe the quality's not there, or maybe the underlying factor is that they're just having trouble adjusting to the difference in the tires, and they're being frustrated by it. Look, I don't profess to know all of the inside issues here. What I will tell you is that these are two of the biggest drivers on the tour. Yet on the other hand, these are only two drivers on the tour that seem to be doing the most complaining here. So, I think you got to take this with a bit of a grain of salt and ask yourself what else is going on. Justin Bonsignor originally had said they were going to cut back, but, you go back and have a little success, and all of a sudden, like Justin Allgaier, I guess if your name is Justin, you reserve the right to change your mind. Because it seems like Justin Bonsignor is now, he's all good now. He's going to run the rest of the year on the tour. And so we'll see where this goes. But, look, the tour is expensive. And I get it from that standpoint. And if they said that, look, we just are, struggling with resources and dollars to spend, but to blame it on the tires, I don't know. Sorry, I'm not buying that one.
Yeah, and I just want to add, because you referenced Kyle's cousin, Justin Bonsignor, of course, the four-time champion. I had never gotten the indication when Justin first announced that he and Ken Massa were going to miss those couple of races before the rain out at Oxford Plains kind of steadied things for them. I had at least not gotten the vibe from anything that I had heard that decision had to do with tires.
Yeah,
I had
that's
kind of
right.
gotten the vibe that was other factors that Justin and the team were working through, and they seem to be stabilized to the point that at least it appears he's going to be in good shape for the rest of the year. He was certainly right in contention at Riverhead. You know, before that race ultimately did not quite go his way and instead went Mark Stewart's way. But regardless, I mean, the 51 looked as strong as it always has at Riverhead and in tour competitions. So I'm going to be interested to see how this continues to develop myself. I can't speak to the NASCAR modified tire compound by any means. I'm not going to profess to be an expert, in that capacity. The only thing I can speak to, like you said, is cost containment and quality from American Racer due to my time working with them on the Must-See Racing sprint car side. And it was very rare that we had any issues on the sprint car side, but I will tell you, when issues would arise, AR was very, very vehement in getting to the bottom of it as quickly as possible for the betterment of the racers. So I hope that this is only, temporary, and whatever the issue is, we can get it solved quickly, because I do think in the long term that this is going to be, you work through the kinks, that this is going to be a benefit for the NASCAR modified racers in the budgets and in the quality of racing going forward. Now, to stick with the modified theme, TC or not TC is my next question for you. And no, that's not Ted Christopher, by the way, for those Northerners watching us going, wait a minute here. That would be traction control, sir, because this past weekend at Bowman Gray, Mike Speeney, who those of us in the South know well in the modified set, protested both the Myers boys, Bert and his son Slate, for traction control. They tore down the cars and found a whole lot of nothing. Do we believe what we're being told here, because Bert and Slate are kind of the poster children for Bowman Gray?
Well, I do. I believe they found nothing because, obviously we would have known. It isn't like those things are done in secret. The teardown, that was done in public. So they didn't find anything. And of course, Speeney says he has video that supports his cause, but I don't know that ever came to light, or whatever the situation is. And Mike and Bert have had their share, and I think Mike and Slade a little bit. So this is just more of the drama that goes on at Bowman Gray, but it's interesting to note, because this is not the first rodeo for Bert being charged with the potential that he has, or the allegation that he has traction control. So who knows? I don't know what to believe. I just know what we were told, which is nothing to see here, no traction control here. And we carry on with Bowman Gray and the soap opera that it is throughout the summer here. And by the way, a quick congratulations to one of our former Steering Wheel Nation writers, Peter Strada, one of the voices of past for us, who is now their PR coordinator at Bowman Gray, and that is Peter's dream job. He's from Winston-Salem.
Yes.
Couldn't be happier for him. Great job, Peter. I know he's gonna kick that right in the butt.
Plug Peter in at PR coordinator. You've got another former voice of ours in James Pike on the microphone when he can with the Flow
That's
Racing
right.
broadcasts
Yeah.
up there. So you've got two native Winston-Salem folk in their dream jobs pretty much, and we'll only take the tiniest bit of credit for that.
Right. Pikey also a part of the Cars Tour when he has the
Yes.
opportunity as well. So, yeah, they both done very well for themselves. We're proud of them.
Last America's Racer shout-out in this segment goes to Casey Jedrzejek, a multi-generational racing talent, 21 years old now. Casey had a career night with the Outlaws at River City Speedway in North Dakota, led 14 laps after he started from the pole, career best finish of third, dueled with David Gravel, dueled with Carson Macedo, Sheldon Haudenschild. He qualified second to start the night. This wasn't a flash in the pan. He was up there all night long, Tom. Is this a sign of more to come from KJ?
100%. I would say that he is out kicking his level of experience this year already. And I think this is a young man who has the potential to race for championships in this series, and I believe that he will. And I think that performance showed it. As you say, no fluke. It wasn't like there was nobody else in the pit area that was competitive. He just flat ran his butt off. And that I love seeing this when somebody young who isn't expected to go up and challenge for victories in a series like that goes and does it. And I think it's awesome. And I think this is the first of many to come. And I do predict he will win a feature before the year's out.
I agree with that assessment. We're going to take our final break. White flag in the last lap after this.
MillerTech builds lithium batteries for RVs, golf carts, boats, and off-grid life. Reliable power, long lifespan, and a 10-year warranty. That's why I trust MillerTech. MillerTech, powering your adventure.
Race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details. And join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show. Tom better be careful. He's just given me the reins to everything tonight. I might take over before too long. Last lap segment, though. I drive the boat. Give Tom the topic. Number one, the high limit sprint car points battle has been all over the place, like an EKG heart rate monitor. You had Rico Abreu win one night when Aaron Reitzel and Tanner Thorson crashed each other. He took the points lead and then gave it back after he finished 11th at Butler, Michigan the next night, and Aaron Reitzel won the race to take over the points lead again. Do we have a clear favorite? Do we know anything, or are we just all clueless and watching the fun right now?
Oh, we're as clueless as it gets, Jacob, and I'm here for it. I am happy to be clueless. It seems like we talk about this almost every week about how the seesaws back and forth between two or three drivers. That only means that that's how big the competition is in high limit, and the same in the Outlaws, really, although Gravel has seemed to be the top dog. But no, I love this, and I think, again, it's only the end of May. We got a lot of months of racing left to do for the high limit series, and I think it's going to seesaw back and forth all year long. I don't think we have a clue who the favorite is, because I really don't think there is one.
And I love the high limit schedule this year because the first chunk of June has a stretch of 7 races in 11 days that will go a long, long way towards deciding who is ultimately going to come out on top of that championship fight. Smart Modifieds were in action the most recent weekend. Franklin County Speedway, you had Jake the Snake Crum winning over Brandon Ward, but the cooler storyline, Tom, was 15-year-old Carter McMurray racing against his dad, Jamie. Yes, that Jamie McMurray, the CW and Fox guy. Carter ran third. His dad ran 18th. Kiddo gets bragging rights. What do you think?
Well, Jamie, to be fair, was crashed out. That's why he didn't finish higher than that. But Jamie had a great time. Absolutely loved driving the car. Wants to run a few more, and I'm sure he will. I think it's great. Never been in a modified before. The kid obviously has and does really well. He's a top 5 runner. And so I think it's great to see that father and son being able to have the pleasure of racing against each other. And I think we're going to see it at least 3 more times before the end of the year.
Quick nugget. Have you been as impressed with Carter's progress in such a short time in smart mods as I have? Because it seems like he's picked that up like a duck to water.
Yeah, for sure. Carter was, I watched him in karts when he was running the short road course karts. And, and he just, anything Carter got in, he's not a super flashy young man. He's not, super outgoing. He's a nice kid, but he just goes on the track and lets his driving do the talking for him. And much like his dad did. And yes, I think he's got a big future ahead of him for sure. And I'm glad to see Jamie get out on the track with him and run with him a little bit. Those are fun memories, I'm sure, for them.
Jamie's going to be in a NASCAR truck in San Diego, the Colleague Ram, by the way, remember, in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be fun, too. Take us home with some ISMA Super Talk, Tom. Shoe 2, Dave Schulich Jr. winning the first stop of the year for ISMA MSS at Oswego over the weekend. Drove from 7th to the win. There was passing everywhere. You had Trent Stevens go 8th to 2nd. Tyler Schulich went 12th to 3rd, and if he'd had 10 more laps, might have won the thing. I always love the wings at Oswego, but my gosh, this one was a fun one.
$6,000 for Dave Schulich, and I'm just here to tell you that if Tyler Schulich would have been able to more quickly get by Tyler Thompson, Tyler Schulich probably would have passed both of the first and second place cars and won the race. That car was on a rail, but look, the ISMA MSS Super Modifieds on the 5A Smile at Oswego, low 15-second laps, they just fly. And a lot of times you don't get a whole lot of passing when these guys run there because they kind of get spread out. And this time, totally the opposite. A lot of slower traffic. Had 24 cars, I think 23 cars actually start the race. And most of them finished, which was great because it really made the race outstanding. There was a lot of passing in the top 3, comers, goers, and this race was really never, the unpredictability factor. It was a 10 out of 10 on that meter. We didn't know until the last lap who was going to win this. And honestly, I loved that Dave Schulich Jr. got the win just because now that gives him a little momentum going into this weekend and another shot at $6,000 in the Jim Champagne Memorial when they take the top wings off, put the tail wings back on, and go Novelis Super Modified Racing for Oswego points. Second race, however, the ISMA race and this race will both count toward the Oswego Challenge Series. Between the two series, $50,000 in points money on the line. It is a big year at Oswego. We had 26 super modifieds, I think, at the track, and unfortunately, Otto Sitterly blew a motor, so he didn't even get to race on Saturday, blew it in practice. But great race at Oswego. And again, big race coming up this coming weekend that we'll tell you about on the next show. But great way to start the season up in New York State at the Big O. And that's going to bring this show to a close. For more great content, you know where to find us. SteeringWheelNation.com is the website, or at the SWN Media on Facebook, Instagram, or X. You can find us any of those places, and we look forward to chatting back and forth with you. We're into our deep coverage season, a lot of at track coming up. I'm Tom Baker. Thanks for watching.